Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Fantasy Football Review. I'm your host, as always, Rob Castro, and alongside me is my guest today, Clara Markowski. And before we break into this, we'd like to thank Phil Hardis for directing our show tonight. Phil has been doing this for a long time, I'd say. He played golf today, and he's not on his A game, but we're trying to figure it out in the back. But he's doing a great job so far. So again, thanks a lot, Phil Hardis, for directing our show tonight. So before we get into those Week 9 matchups, there's the recap, actually. Clara, there were some excellent games at Week 9. There were a lot of upsets, a lot of things that we didn't quite see, and a bet that was placed on Sunday night.
Let's get this out of the way.
When you said that the Pittsburgh Steelers were actually going to beat the Baltimore Ravens, and I said, not so fast, my friend. I was like, the Baltimore Ravens are the better team in this game, and the Steelers had that Patriots hangover, so... I'm sure she'll take me out on a nice meal and give me a few adult beverages, but I don't think she can show me the $10 bill now.
You guys, I'm a woman of my word, and I do have the crisp $10 bill for him.
She reminded me too. So that's she's held high in my standards now. So, but let's get right into the Week 9 matchups and recap. There were some great games, Clara. Let's start with the Patriots-Giants. I'd say one of the best marquee matchups, pitting the 2008 Super Bowl heavy favorites, New England Patriots against the New York Giants, their first rematch since that game. And what happens? Eli Manning, again, a last-second touchdown pass to defeat the New England Patriots. History repeats itself.
Absolutely. And, Tom Brady, I mean, he had 2 or 3 interceptions to start off. He was not looking like the Tom Brady that we all know and love. Giants they look definitely like the better team. And now New England's lost 2 in a row. So, I think it's not do or die for them against the Jets, but I think they do need to win Sunday night.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a big game. And you hit that right on the head. Tom Brady did not have his best game. I believe he only had like 16, 17 fantasy points. And Eli Manning continues to show why he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, even though he's kind of under the radar. But let's go into the Buccaneers-Saints game. That was another division rivalry game. The Buccaneers had beaten the New Orleans Saints in Tampa. But what happens here? The Saints get their revenge in Tampa Bay, and Josh Freeman throws for 281 yards, but they still lose by 11.
Yeah, and that was a great defensive game by the Saints as well. They got a delay. Remember in the beginning when the one of the Saints got hurt. But yeah, after that it was a really good game. It was never really close. I think the Saints had it pretty much all the way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They did. And Drew Brees again showing why after a huge loss that he took last week, comes back and against the Rams when they lost, and then comes back and shows why he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. Forgets that game, does very well. I think Jimmy Graham had 80 yards catching with another touchdown. So you got Jimmy Graham on your team, you're stoked. LeGarrette Blount trying to get back into that offense, had a touchdown as well. So trying to get their feet wet a little bit in the running game, but like you said, too little too late. Another game we want to kind of
talk about the Miami Dolphins.
I was gonna get right into that game.
Miami has their first win. Good for them. And they crushed. They absolutely dominated. They did not look like a defeated team. So. And
all because of Reggie Bush and his 92 yards rushing. Finally, out of the gates, the first half, he actually almost eclipsed his last 2 games' previous rushing total. But yeah, Matt Moore and the Miami Dolphins go into Kansas City and get it done after the Kansas City Chiefs had beaten San Diego on Monday Night Football. You like to talk about fantasy, guys. We're talking about the fantasy sports. We're not really talking about the team itself. But Reggie Bush, Clara, now he's starting to come into his own. What do you think about Reggie Bush in the second half?
I think it's great. And a lot of people think he's very overrated, but I've always thought he's a great running back. And, I think he's definitely going to shine on, Miami's not the best team to be on, but I think Reggie Bush, he's going to shine. And I don't think he's overrated at all. I think he's great.
All right. Well, yeah, I think you're right too. Here's a guy that everyone kind of looked down upon, not really a real running back, and showed on Sunday why he's a force inside the tackles. So watch out for Reggie Bush in the second half. Another game we like to go to in the nation's capital. A game that the Washington Redskins had to win and did not, and they lost to the San Francisco 49ers, 19-11. Just an ugly game all around. Not really any fancy stars in the Washington huddle, but a guy, Frank Gore, continues to show why he's the best running back in the NFL. He had over 107 yards. This guy. You watched the game. How bad did the Redskins look?
The Redskins looked awful, and it's funny too because the Redskins actually just set two of their records. Roy Halou had a career receiving of 105 yards, and Graham Gano kicked the 59-yarder, which was the longest in his NFL history, and we still lose by 8 points.
Well,
I mean, we were never leading.
That's not typical, though. I mean, the Redskins like to do that. So, but moving right along, we also are going to go into the Falcons-Colts game, another team, Indianapolis, that kind of just mailed it in. Them, just like the Miami Dolphins, have not won a game. It's kind of sad. You had that illustrious history in the last 10 years in the Indianapolis Colts, and for it to get this bad. But not a lot of fantasy stars in this game if you're a Colts fan, but if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, you see two guys. Julio Jones comes back, catching an 80-yard touchdown pass, and Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons, the quarterback, again, getting it done with 270 in the air and 3 big touchdowns. And, I was a big believer in Matt Ryan coming into the season, but, kind of let me down the first 3 weeks. I think right now, you talk about Reggie Bush. This is definitely a quarterback that's definitely eyeing some success here in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt Ryan's been struggling all year, so it was nice to see him have a good game because, I think a lot of people had Atlanta going to the Super Bowl this year. So it's finally nice of them to step up, even though they did just play the Colts. But, it was good to see them.
That is true. Well, if you do remember, Clara, like a lot of our predictions last week, well, yours especially, went south. I was not really dead on in any games, but I was dead on in this game. Packers-Chargers, we said a lot of offense is going to be scored in this one. 2 prolific offenses. I know San Diego kind of stunk it up in Kansas City last week, but they almost came back and beat the heavily favored Green Bay Packers, and a team that everyone thinks might go undefeated on the season. I looked at this game. I saw Philip Rivers. He really commanded that huddle. I mean, you had Vincent Jackson. I mean, the guy, absolutely just gave you 3 touchdowns. Philip Rivers, 385 in the air. Antonio Gates catching passes. Looks like that plantar fasciitis, or whatever you call it, is gone. But, Aaron Rodgers, again, lives up to his billing. Throws 2 very, very crisp touchdowns to one to Jordy Nelson and the other one to Greg Jennings. And this team, look at the Packers.
Well, I was playing against Aaron Rodgers in my fantasy league this week, and 4 touchdowns. And it's funny because Philip Rivers was the leading passer, but that's because he had to keep up with Aaron Rodgers' 4 touchdowns and however many yards.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was a game at San Diego. They get that onside kick, maybe momentum swings a little bit, or they get that 3rd down, and Green Bay picks up the first, game over. But good effort by San Diego, but they struggled again. What can you say? All right, so we're going to get into the Sunday night game. And Baltimore coming back to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. A big game if you're a Baltimore fan because they needed that victory. Pittsburgh lost in the last 30, 40 seconds of the ball game. Torrey Smith catches that touchdown pass from Joe Flacco. And we kind of talked about Joe Flacco last week, but Clara, he comes through.
He looked like a different Joe Flacco than the previous 2 weeks. He did not look like the same Joe Flacco that lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars and then almost to the Arizona Cardinals. And Torrey Smith, too. Torrey Smith was struggling at the beginning of the game. Incomplete passes. Joe Flacco was overthrowing and comes back with that winning touchdown pass. So
you're right. And then he had that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
He was, apparent where they needed him. So
yeah, you're absolutely right.
It was a great game.
Yeah, he came back from that big holding call when they could have gotten 6 on that first drive, but they got that field goal, and then comes back, catches that touchdown. So just a great effort by the rookie Torrey Smith from Maryland. I'll have to say it because Maryland's terrible this year, but. But the Monday night game. Now, say what you want about the Dream Team in Philadelphia. This team had a lot to prove coming into the season. A lot of guys, a lot of egos that hadn't played with each other, played against each other for many years, all come together. And you know what, Clara? They're 3-5. What makes this team? You look at this team. On paper, they should easily go to the Super Bowl. They should actually have identical records with the Green Bay Packers. But they're 3-5 and sitting with the Washington Redskins on below the NFC East.
Absolutely, and they have LaShawn McCoy, who's gotten a touchdown every game. He's one of the top running backs. Michael Vick, who was just amazing last year. Not one of the best defenses, but their receivers are awesome. Macklin, Avant, Brent Selleck has really been stepping up. Is that the coach? Is that Andy Reid?
You know what? They have the players. They have a game plan. They don't execute it. You really can't blame the coaches. But you know what? Was that game plan designed in accordance to the Chicago Bears? The Bears looked pretty good on defense, created a few turnovers, and again, special teams came into play when Deshaun Jackson fumbled that football when they just got that touchdown, and then they got the ball back with momentum. And then the Bears scored a touchdown there to take the lead, 17-10. I mean, really, Clara, it comes down to just being proficient on offense, and really in the second half, the Eagles scored 2 quick touchdowns, and that was it. They didn't score the fourth quarter. So again, you might say bad coaching. I think it's just the players just not performing. And Chicago Bears, I mean, they got a great effort by Jay Cutler. Again,
he's one of those. He can throw for 6 interceptions if he wants to, or he can throw for 6 touchdowns.
You're right.
I think that game was to Jay Cutler, and also too, we can't forget the veteran. Brian Urlacher. I mean, he was tackling, wide receivers. He was sacking the quarterback. I just felt like he was everywhere on defensive plays.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then Matt Forte, I mean, this guy, along with Fred Jackson, who we spoke about last week, we didn't get in that Buffalo game because it was just such a boring game. And, obviously the Jets have really kind of woken up a little bit. But Matt Forte, what can you say about this guy? He's been the MVP in the NFC. I mean, there's some few guys, Aaron Rodgers, you can talk about. But Matt Forte really keeps his team going and really makes them a highly balanced attack for the Chicago Bears. Now, before we break into the weather with Nikki Grant standing by, I just want to talk about a few of these football rankings. I know she's standing by in the Weather Center, but you look at the quarterback position and then you look at the top 10, and why is Tim Tebow garnishing all this attention? I mean, one of the guys from CBS has this guy ranked number 8 as a quarterback, but he's got, Tom Brady number 11, Eli Manning, not that high.
Is he still going off that, the first week that he came out and had that awesome game, or is it simply because they're playing Kansas City and they lost so badly against Miami?
Yeah, I mean,
look at that.
You never know. I had to get this off my chest before we broke into the Weather Center. So we're going to take a short little break here, but Nikki Grant standing by, and Nikki, take it away.
Hello there, boys. Welcome back to the Fantasy Sports Review Weather Center. I'm Nikki Grant, back after a painfully long break to give all you sports fans an update on the weather for each game coming up this week. It's been a whirlwind of a season so far. Crazy comebacks, fantastic finishes, and some good old-fashioned Redskins wreckage. And I'm sure there's lots more of that to come this week, so let's see what weather these warriors of the gridiron have to look forward to this week. November's here, and the cooler temps have arrived, so keep a lookout for hard nips and some major shrinkage on the field this week. Or wait, am I the only one who thinks about stuff like that? Moving on. First up, the reeking Raiders head into sunny San Diego to take on the hit-or-miss Chargers for this year's first Thursday night game. Both Carson Palmer and Phillip Rivers have become known for their inconsistencies this season, so we'll be looking for high school-style accuracy and middle school-style turnovers this Thirsty Thursday. Partly cloudy skies and mid-60s come game time in Southern California. Next, our Shanahan family-led Redskins charge into Southern Florida for a must-win game against the one-win Miami Dolphins. Tony Sperano's Fins came away with their first victory of the season last week in convincing fashion against the Chiefs. The Redskins come in on a 4-game skid with hopes to finally come away with a win, much needed to keep what's left of their fan base. Warm temps in the high 70s will make for a heated battle against these two teams hungry to add another W in the books. The Buffalo Bills plan to stampede the Dallas Cowboys this week in Texas as both teams try to start off the second half of the season with a bang. The Bills suffered a tough loss against the Jets last week, and the very, very mediocre Cowboys are coming off of an easy win against the Seahawks. This should be a fun game to watch since the heavily favored Bills should be punishing Tony Romo for being the bad quarterback that he is. Look for mid-50s and cloudy in Steers and Queers country. Next, the 500 Tennessee Titans take on Cam Newton and the struggling Carolina Panthers. Newton, one of the highest-rated quarterbacks so far this season in only his rookie year, will continue to put the pieces of the puzzle together this week in an effort to pull out what would only be the Panthers' third victory. Sunny and 70s this Sunday afternoon in South Carolina. The 3-5 Philadelphia Eagles host the equally mediocre Arizona Cardinals in the city of brotherly love this week. Hey, Andy Reid, your dream team sucks, almost as bad as your cheesesteaks. You're out of the playoffs, and you're out of your fans' favor. Good luck keeping your job in the offseason. You might win this week, but you've done nothing with what should have been the most exciting team of the year. Not that I mind. Mid-50s and sunny in Philly on Sunday. Only 2 dome games this week, the Saints versus the Falcons, and the worst game of the week, the Jacksonville Jags against the Indianapolis Colts. Thank God that game will be indoors and shut out from the rest of the world. The Texans and the Buccaneers face off in Tampa Bay this week. The Texans are sitting pretty atop the AFC South as the Bucs prepare with an expected 500 record. Look to the Texans to cruise through this road game with both a highly ranked offense and defense. Beautiful weather this week in Tampa, 70s and sunny. The third-place Steelers come into a surprisingly first-place Cincinnati on Sunday to battle the Bengals. Ben Roethlisberger suffered a tough Sunday night loss in season sweep last week against the superior Baltimore Ravens. He better come out of the locker room strong, as the Bengals' strong defense plans to continue to increase Ben's turnover rate this week. A cool day in the 50s in Ohio with partly cloudy skies. The Broncos and the Chiefs, the Lions and the Bears, and the Rams and the Browns will all be playing in cloudy, mid-50s weather this weekend, with each of those teams fighting to improve their images in their own respective cities. Both 4 o'clock games look to be soggy this week as the Ravens look to steamroll the Seahawks out west. The rolling New York Giants face the fierce 49ers in San Fran. Eli Manning proved himself worthy last week as he handed the Patriots their second straight loss and first regular season home loss in almost 3 years with an impressive last-minute scoring drive. He's still a goober, but now he's a worthy one. On Sunday night, our Sunday night game looks to be a good one, with the New England Patriots aiming to end their 2-game skid with a battle against the New York Jets in the Meadowlands. The Patriots released that fat tub of crap Albert Haynesworth this week, which has absolutely no effect on this game, but feels really, really great to say considering how much we, here in DC, hate his roly-poly ass. Both teams share a 5-3 record and are hungry to improve, so look for a high-scoring game and lots of lead changes. We'll have cooler temps in the 50s come game time this Sunday night. Lastly, the Green Bay Packers welcome the Minnesota Vikings into their bloody lair of death, also known as Lambeau Field, for our, in many ways, coldest game of the week. Aaron Rodgers is the sex machine king of the Holy Church of Football, leading an army of samurai, Spartan, porn star ninjas, thanks scriptwriter, and the Vikings are abused orphan children of the NFC North. I would say the scales are leaning slightly towards Wisconsin, nonetheless, any given Sunday, and it's going to be a chilly one, possibly in the 30s come game time. Good luck to both teams. And that's it for me this week. Thanks for joining me here. I've certainly had a blast. If you've got any questions or would just like to talk about your job, your family, or how much you hate your spouse, you can email me at nikki@fantasyreview.com, and I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. Thanks for joining me here in the Fantasy Sports Review Weather Center, fellas. Now back to Phil and Robbie in the studio. Bye.
Thanks, Nikki. I guess it's going to be a cold and damp one here in these games. So I guess it'd be a lot of under parties. But getting back into Week 10, we start with tonight's action. The San Diego Chargers are hosting the Oakland Raiders. And Claire, in this game, I mean, you got Carson Palmer threw for 330 yards last game against the Broncos and trying to lead that comeback in which they ended up losing to Tim Tebow's Broncos. And Tebow, again, got all the accolades for that win, which he should not have deserved. But this is a new San Diego team that I think is going to be pretty dangerous down the stretch. I know their record isn't as good as years past, but Claire, I mean, in San Diego, weather's warm, and Carson Palmer is playing in his 3rd game. I like San Diego in this one.
I like San Diego as well. You know, Philip Rivers had 385 yards. Vincent Jackson had over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think it's going to be the Philip and Vincent show tonight again.
I think you're absolutely right. I think Oakland's no match for this team. So moving along, we got another barn burner on our schedule. St. Louis goes into Cleveland to take on the Cleveland Browns. Now, if I'm a Colt McCoy or Sam Bradford guy, I think this would be a high-scoring game. But Cleveland's been letting letting a lot of fantasy owners down recently. So I wouldn't start anyone from Cleveland. I wouldn't even start Peyton Hillis. I doubt he's not even going to play. So what's the Magic's got him again. But St. Louis, an intriguing team. They beat the New Orleans Saints at home, and then they go to Arizona and lose in overtime to a 99-yard Patrick Peterson punt return. Sam Bradford really just didn't get it going offensively, and neither did his running game with Steven Jackson. So I'd probably just stay away from this game. I wouldn't even bother.
I think you got to start Steven Jackson, though.
All right.
Start him if you have him. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game as well, but I'm going to go with the Rams on this one.
I do like the Rams myself. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to take the home team in this one because usually those 2 bad teams, usually the home team always prevails. So I think the Browns are favored anyways, so they're going to win. All right, so Steelers. This is another big game for the Steelers, by the way. This is their 3rd in a row. Steelers go into Cincinnati to play the Cincinnati Bengals. Andy Dalton and A.J. Green. We talked about Aaron Rodgers to Greg Jennings, Cam Newton to Steve Smith, Tom Brady to Wes Welker. But this is another team in Cincinnati that's really gotten it going on offensively, and they're led by 2 rookies. I mean, unbelievable. So and now you got Pittsburgh Steelers, who let you down last week.
They did, and all three of those teams, the Bengals, Steelers, and Ravens, they're all right there in contenders. And I think the Steelers definitely have to win this game. Bengals are good though. They gave the Buffalo their first loss of the year. They seem like they've been winning every week. I don't know. I think I'm going to get the Steelers on this one.
All right, well, I'm going to go the Bengals again. I just like how they play, and I like watching those two rookies command that huddle. And also, Cedric Benson, for whatever reasons, having a great season. So, and the Cincinnati Bengals D has been playing great. All right, well, this is another huge game too on the slate. Another matchup game. You got New Orleans going into Atlanta. Atlanta beat themselves, I should say, last time in New Orleans, and I guess Matt Ryan really had the greatest game. But this is a new Falcons team. What do you see in this one, Clara?
Is it the Falcons team, or is it just, Matt Ryan had that, 1 week, that breakout week, and he's going to be done? Saints D, I have them on my fantasy team. They're hit or miss. Falcons are at home. I'm still going to go the Saints on this one, though.
All right, well, I like the Falcons. I don't know if that's at home flavor, but I think Matt Ryan's got his team going in the right direction. Michael Turner's been having an electrifying season, and Julio Jones has finally stepped up and lived up to his billing. All right, now moving along to this game, and now this is an intriguing matchup for kind of both teams. Bills and Cowboys. You have one team in the Buffalo Bills that have been a surprise story all season long, and then you have another team, America's team, in the Dallas Cowboys, who have been struggling all season long. Buffalo, took a step back a little bit against the Jets, but these are two teams hungry in a victory. They need one really bad, and I think Ryan Fitzpatrick really takes to the Dallas defense, and I think DeMarco Murray does pretty well against Buffalo's D, even though it's been great against the run.
Has another 100-yard game?
You know what? I think so. I think Buffalo wins this game in a shootout.
I agree with you. And as a Redskins fan, I'm going to go with the Bills anyway. But, the Cowboys, you never know with Tony Romo. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is a much better quarterback than Tony Romo is. I'm going to go Bills. I'm going to go Bills in this one.
Yeah, I think you're right. I like Buffalo in this game. All right, Titans at Panthers. All right, you have Cam Newton, who kind of stolen the spotlight from a lot of players, and he's a rookie. And you got to love this guy. Now you also have the Tennessee Titans, who in the first 3 or 4 weeks beat 3 very good teams, and everyone had them so high. But then you have a guy, Chris Johnson, who just has not, week after week, has not lived up to his billing. I like Carolina in this game to get their, third victory this season. They're going to beat the Tennessee Titans at home. Cam Newton's going to have a monster game. Steve Smith, Greg Olsen, Shockey, start them all. I'm reluctant to start Chris Johnson in my league, just because, the kind of season he's had.
He's been a bust this year.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that, I think there has to be, 1 week that he has a breakout. Maybe this is his week. So I'm going to go Titans on this one.
Claire, I've been saying it for a long time. I don't trust in Chris Johnson at all. I like the Carolina Panthers. I know they're not favored in this game, but I'm going to go with them. I like Carolina. So that takes us to the Broncos-Chiefs. Broncos going to Kansas City. Tim Tebow, I'm not believing the hype. Eric Decker, great wide receiver, but really no fantasy value in the Denver Broncos this year. Willis McGahee has been a flake. The Chiefs, on the other hand, Matt Castle, Dwayne Bowe. Who's really going to step up here? I don't really feel like talking about this game, so let's just move on to the Jags-Colts. And this is another game I don't feel comfortable talking about. Cardinals-Eagles. Who do you like in this one?
Eagles are going to win this one. The Cardinals just, maybe Beanie Wells, Kevin Cobb, they really haven't gotten their offense on the same page. And I think Eagles are pretty much do or die this game.
Yeah.
So I think they definitely have to win this game.
Yeah, the Cardinals kind of skated by in that victory against the Rams. You're right, no Kevin Cobb. Skelton's going to start his second game of the year this season. And the Eagles, I would hope their special teams can contain Patrick Peterson, because if Arizona Cardinals have a shot in hell to win this game, it's going to be because he's returned 3 punts. So I doubt it's going to happen. But the Houston Texans going into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is going to be a great game. Andre Johnson's out again. Probably won't be playing on Saturday. But who cares? You have Arian Foster. You got Matt Schaub. Who else? You have some Owen Daniels at tight end, Kevin Walters. These guys have really stepped up on a big stage. In the meantime, Josh Freeman led them almost to a comeback in the second half against the Saints. So really, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Clara, who do you like in this one?
I like the Texans. Texans got this one. Arian Foster's the best running back in the NFL. I think they got this one all the way.
I think you're right. Arian Foster's been doing it and doing it very well. All right, well, Redskins at Dolphins again. I don't feel comfortable
I
talking
think
about
the
this game.
Redskins are going to give the Dolphins their second win in a row. And we can
I
just
like
leave it
that.
at
I like
that.
Yeah, we're not talking about it. Ravens Seahawks again. You have Flacco, you have Torrey Smith, you have Ray Rice. Start them all. Seahawks defense, it's been atrocious, even with the 12th man going into Seattle. I know it's a tough place to play. Marshawn Lynch, maybe Sidney Rice, you start, but I really doubt it in this one. Lions and Bears again. Two good teams. It's gonna be a marquee matchup at Soldier Field. Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, those guys have been doing it all season long. Jay Cutler, I mean, he's found a new weapon. He's got a couple guys in his arsenal that he's been throwing to. One being Earl Bennett, who's actually come on very strong as of late. But Matt Forte, my NFC MVP so far. And now the Giants 49ers. Giants riding that emotional high against New England. I think they falter in San Francisco. San Francisco goes 8-1 in the season. Again, Frank Gore, if you have him, start him. I don't really trust Michael Crabtree or Alex Smith. But on Sunday night, huge matchup, Patriots and Jets.
Big game.
Who
Absolutely.
are you liking this one, Clara?
I think this is where we have to do our second bet. I know you're a Patriots fan, so I'm going to go with the Jets on this one.
All right, I'll take the Patriots, double or nothing.
I mean, Patriots. I'm sorry. The Jets just, they looked awesome against Buffalo. Buffalo really didn't stand a chance. I think Sean Green will have a great game. I think the Jets defense is the best in the NFL. I think Terrell Revis is the best cornerback in the NFL. The only thing you have to is Mark Sanchez, and Tom Brady is clearly the better quarterback, but I think the Jets have to win this game because all three teams are very close.
You're right.
All
And I think the
three teams are tied
Patriots have to win this game, too. I mean, this is a big game for New England. Losing 2 in a row. They haven't been down this path since 2008 when they had Matt Castle as their quarterback. So you look at this Patriots team, they're hungry for a victory. The Jets know they have to win this game. I like Patriots. You like Jets. Done deal. Monday night, Vikings at Packers. Packers in a landslide. I don't really see the Vikings with Christian Ponder going into Lambeau on Monday night, his first Monday night game, and beating the Green Bay Packers. So, I mean,
And they played earlier in the year, and it was a little close, but Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay, they came over. I think Green Bay's going to go 9-0.
I think you're absolutely right there, and that's something we do agree upon, Claire. I think the Packers are going to win. So that is all we have. That's all the time we have for tonight, guys. That's the Week 10 picks we have. Thanks again for Phil Harges directing the show tonight. For Clara Markowski, I'm Rob Casher. We'll see you
Thanks,
guys
guys.
next week on Fantasy Football Review. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.